Beginning in the 1950s, Roger Corman started his career in film, directing over 50 features and producing over 500 different films, becoming one of the most respected producers in cinema history. Now we have an unseen project and plus many cult favorites that are on Crackle TV. Our pal Chris Woolsey here, Senior Director of Communications at Crackle, here to chat all about it. Thank you so much for your time today.
Rudy, are you kidding me? I would wait in a line longer than to get the new iPhone to talk to you. My goodness.
Well, it's always so great to see you, and same here as well too. Anytime we get a chance to chat, it's always the highlight of my day.
Well, it's the same here. It's always a pleasure. So I'm looking forward to this one.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's so many movies to talk about. Tell me a little bit about some of the films that are now on Crackle.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned the lost Roger Corman film. So we're super excited. This month we premiered his film Virtually Heroes. And this premiered at the 2013 Sundance Film Festival. And then somehow it got put on a shelf and forgotten about. And about 3 years ago, our acquisition company, Screen Media, found it and polished it up, gave it a small theatrical release, and it's now available for free on Crackle. It's super fun. Like a lot of Corman's movies, it's a sci-fi film about two self-aware video game characters in a Call of Duty style video game, kind of like Contra. If you could imagine the two guys from Contra realizing that they live in a video game, and now they have to try to figure out how they got here and how they can get out and live a normal life.
Mark Hamill. I mean, you got me right there.
Exactly. So it is Mark Hamill has a huge cameo in this. He is brilliant. It's actually very similar to his character in The Last Jedi. He plays this sort of like cranky sage that is trying to help these guys figure things out. Also starring Robert Baker from Supergirl and Brent Chase from Bosch. Katie Savoy from How I Met Your Mother. It is super fun. If you are just looking for a goofy, fun action film where everything in the movie gets blown up at one point or another, and sometimes more than once, this is the one for you.
And not only did Roger have this amazing career, but he also helped launch the careers of so many people that are just household names right now. I mean, Jack Nicholson, James Cameron, Francis Ford Coppola. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the connection, from Roger and all these other stars.
It's bananas. There are like literally dozens of actors, writers, producers, directors who can trace their first shot, or at least one of their first shots, directly to Corman greenlighting something they were working on. So you bring up Jack Nicholson. He's actually in the original 1960 version of Little Shop of Horrors. So he plays one of the patients at the dental office. And it's really bizarre because that movie was filmed, the interiors were filmed in 48 hours. Corman was finishing another film, knew he had access to this warehouse for another 2 days, and was like, we might as well just make another movie. And so they threw it all together and filmed all the interiors in less than 48 hours. It's bananas.
I mean, it's such an iconic movie, and you never would have thought in 2 days that most of that was completely done. That just blows my mind.
On a budget of less than $25,000.
Which is even crazier, yeah.
It's insane. Totally. James
Cameron, the maggots.
It's a great story. I love
video
it.
And photos, but I was like, I don't know if I want to.
No, you probably don't want to look at that. But to hear about it, it's amazing. So Galaxy of Terror, low budget sci-fi horror film. James Cameron was the art director, but he realized that the director was not shooting enough footage in order to do cutaways. And so he went to Roger and was like, hey, do you mind if I pick up some B-roll? And they were like, okay, great. You can be second unit director. So while he was doing that, he had to get a shot of an arm covered in maggots, and the maggots were not wiggling enough to James' high specifications. So he literally tore an electrical cord out of one of the tools on the set and jammed it into this prosthetic arm and lit the thing up with electricity, and the maggots went bananas. And there were a couple of producers who were visiting the set, and they went, that's the kind of can-do mentality we need on our next movie. And they hired him to direct the classic Piranha 2.
That is an incredible. Francis Ford Coppola. Let's talk a little bit about the connection with those two.
Yep. So Francis Ford Coppola, a lot of people don't know, but his directorial debut was Dementia 13, which was a Roger Corman film. And this has a funny story too. So they were actually filming a movie called The Young Racers. And it had nothing to do, it wasn't a horror film or anything. And Francis Ford Coppola was on set with Roger, and he said, "Hey, any chance I could make a movie for you?" And Roger said, "Yep, as long as you can use the sets we're currently using, the actors we're currently using, and this script, and do it while we're making this movie." So literally, while they were making The Young Racers, they would cut from that. Francis would run in, rearrange the actors, and shoot a completely different scene from a completely different movie.
Because I tried to do the math as far as like producing over 500 films. I was like, you had to do two at the same time to be able to do this, in that kind of, time. That's why it's so incredible. His whole career is so incredible, but doing two projects at the same time, and his incredible mind and mentality like that, it blows my mind.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Like another example, the movie Machine Gun Kelly, which was starring Charles Bronson. Very funny. It was actually supposed to star somebody else, and Roger Corman got into an argument with, I believe it was the screenwriter who wanted his brother to play the role, and Corman said, "All right, forget it. I'm not going to get my guy. You're not going to get your guy. We're going to go with Charles Bronson," who is a very young actor at the time. I think he'd only been in LA for a year or so, and so he got cast, and they shot the movie, a full-length feature, soup to nuts, in 8 days. Like, that's unheard of now.
That is incredible. And I also love, that you mentioned Machine Gun Kelly, because when you think of all like his movies, there's so many things. We think of him as like a famous singer right now. Grand Theft Auto, Fast and the Furious, all have different meanings in the 2000s. But during Roger's time, I mean, these were all titles of his movies. I think that's just fascinating.
Well, that's funny that you bring that up, because Fast and Furious actually was a Corman film. And when they wanted to relaunch the franchise in whenever the first one was done again, they had to go to Corman and say, "Can we have the title?" And the movies were completely unrelated. And Corman said, "Yes, but you have to give me a whole bunch of B-roll." And they were like, "Done." So in exchange to use the title, they gave Corman a bunch of B-roll that he then used to make other movies. I mean, that's how like unbelievably scrappy this guy is.
That is incredible. Other than Virtually Heroes, any other Roger Corman movies that we can see on Crackle right now?
Yes, there are. Like I said, we have Dementia 13, Little Shop of Horrors, Virtually Heroes, Machine Gun Kelly. I mean, there's the list goes on and on. If you go to Crackle and just do a little search, there are literally dozens. Eat My Dust, you mentioned, which is a great Ron Howard film. So another kind of funny story, Ron Howard was doing a movie for Roger Corman, and he said, and the movie was kind of a cult hit, like all of Corman's films. And so Ron Howard came to him and said, "I know you're going to do a sequel. I will be in the sequel, but only if you let me direct." And so Corman was like, "What am I going to do?" "Absolutely, you can direct." And that was Ron Howard's directorial debut.
This is so incredible. I mean, I can only imagine what, had his phone, had we had, smartphones like we do have now in the 50s and 60s, just how much his phone would have been blowing up at any given moment, with just so many projects he had and so many people wanting to be in his movies and projects he was working on and whatnot.
He probably would have been filming a movie with his phone while it was blowing up.
And that's why we love him, and that's why he has all these incredible films that are now on Crackle.
Absolutely. So we've got the RCU. We all know about the MCU, the Marvel Comic Universe. Well, we've got the RCU, the Roger Corman universe, on Crackle. So check it out. Go to crackle.com or download the Crackle app and watch all of these classics for free.
Awesome. Well, Chris, thank you so much for your time today. It was so great to see you, and I hope to see you very, very soon.
Rudy, always a pleasure. I'm counting the days till our next chat.
Me too. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care.